Welcome to NPD News. My name is Nancy Glover, Director of Housing and Community Development for the City of Temple, here with...
Hi, Erin Smith, Assistant City Manager for the City of Temple.
We're part of your neighborhood planning team.
You may have received a flyer in the mail or heard from one of our team members regarding the TMED Neighborhood Planning District. This is a planning effort through our Love Where You Live initiative.
This is actually our 8th plan, and we're really excited to show you some of the cool elements that we've identified to improve in your neighborhood. We also look forward to hearing your feedback on the video as well.
In 2008, the City of Temple was approached by multiple key entities and corporations regarding concern about the decline of the area in which they were located. The City Council proactively responded by creating the Temple Medical and Educational District, also known as TMED. In February 2008, the city entered into a letter of understanding with Scott and White Memorial Hospital, Central Texas Veterans Healthcare System, Temple Health and Bioscience, Economic Development District, and Temple College. The sponsoring entities entered into the LOU as a cooperative and collaborative relationship to leverage their public and private resources, enhance the health and vitality of surrounding neighborhoods, identify needed public improvements, form public-private partnerships, assist the future planning and development of the area, and coordinate marketing efforts for TMED. The sponsoring entities also identified a number of strategic partners with whom they desire to work with, including, but not limited to, Keep Temple Beautiful, TISD, TxDOT, and TEDC. Because of these efforts, there have been many revitalization efforts in the district already. This partnership works to ensure the long-term economic vitality of a critical area in the city and exemplifies the collaboration that promotes economic development, research, medicine, education, and residential commercial redevelopment. The TMED Neighborhood Planning District encompasses a large area within the City of Temple. It includes the TMED Zoning Overlay Area, TMED South, which is also another zoning overlay area, and in addition to that, we also included the Temple Mall location as well as McLean Children's Medical Center. The TMED Neighborhood Planning District planning process began with data gathering that includes a photo inventory looking at current street classifications within the district, as well as looking at the future land use and major thoroughfare plan. The plan area is comprised almost entirely of the future land use category, TMED, and small sections categorized as regional, commercial, and corridor mixed use. Surrounding the plan area to the north is urban residential and neighborhood services to the south. Along Highway 190 and Interstate 35 is corridor mixed use and regional commercial land uses. The neighborhood planning team also begins the process by looking at demographics within the area. A significant portion of the plan area residents are below the poverty line. The plan area consists of young professionals and families, with 25 to 29 being the most common age, followed by 30 to 34 under 5. The highest employment industry is educational services, healthcare, and social assistance, likely influenced by the presence of multiple hospitals and schools within this plan area. Most of the households within the plan area have access to at least one vehicle, which contributes to the high percentage of people who use a car or truck to get to work. Plan area home ownership is also very low, according to the demographic takeaways. Our previous planning efforts have been extraordinary for this area. Through a charrette and master plan exercise, a concept was born to create a university village which includes student and employee housing, retail, dining, medical education, improved public and higher education, research centers, medical services, hike and bike trails, performing arts center, transportation services, and the necessary infrastructure to promote the investment of public and private sector funds to improve the overall TMED area. The vision of the master plan was to be a catalyst and facilitator for the redevelopment of a geographically defined area, known as TMED, in order to protect and enhance the existing campuses, as well as encourage and entice private sector investment. Some key project takeaways here are infrastructure that promotes investment in both the private and public sector, existing campuses to be protected and enhanced, and redevelopment along key corridors. In TMED South, it included a charrette and master plan process with a vision to connect young Temple with historic Temple. Some of the keys to success identified through this process were to leverage the plan area's relationship with TMED to create a strong identity, expend the arts, culture, school, and programs as the heart of the community, and partner with TEDC and landowners to bring in development opportunities. The guiding principles of this plan were to look at nature, street, and pattern to create a community with connections. Some key project takeaways here are to expand housing options, offering an increased choice for residents of all ages. Strong identity is also created through improved open space, architecture, and streetscape.
My name is Jason Deckman, Senior Transportation Planner for City of Temple, to talk about transportation and thoroughfares in the TMED Planning District. We're out here on South First Street on a windy Texas day to talk about community collectors, neighborhood collectors, and pedestrian connectors. There's different ways that different people get around the neighborhoods, whether you're making short trips or longer trips, or you're traveling through the neighborhood. One of the recommendations from the TMED plan is to downgrade South 25th Street from a minor arterial to a community collector. This is a recommendation that's been carried over from 3 different neighborhood plans, the Midtown, the Central, and the TMED plan, that this is a street that's going to connect the neighborhoods and is less of a thoroughfare for high-speed traffic going through as it is for the people in this neighborhood to get around and connect to the larger world. A neighborhood collector street is where you start from your home, you travel down a local street, and those neighborhood collectors help you get around the immediate neighborhood and potentially connect out to the wider city. One of the recommendations from the TMED plan is for South 13th Street to be designated as a neighborhood collector. This is going to be both an upgrade and a downgrade because 13th Street in different areas has been classified as a community collector or a local street. So this recommendation will unify 13th Street through the plan as a neighborhood collector. Some of the recommendations from this plan have come from listening to people in the neighborhood as well as looking at data analysis. One of the recommendations is looking at 19th Street being upgraded from a local street to a neighborhood collector. Based on planners and people in that neighborhood and observing how that street functions, we determined that a good recommendation from this plan is to designate that street as a neighborhood collector. Part of thoroughfare planning is looking at how all people move around on the streets, whether they're pedestrians or vehicles. So several streets in the TMED plan have been designated as pedestrian connectors. They may not have sidewalks or bike lanes or the features now, and they may not even be used by folks for pedestrian trips. But by designating them as such in this plan, that's going to steer planning and engineering to look at advancing projects that would construct a sidewalk. Streets that are recommended to be designated as pedestrian connectors in the TMED plan are 3rd, 9th, 13th, 23rd, 29th, and Avenue P. These streets may have future projects for sidewalks to encourage people to make walking trips and reduce vehicle trips. The TMED plan has looked at both the existing streets and potential future connections that don't currently exist. One of the proposals from this plan is a new community collector near the Summit Recreation Center that would tie South 5th Street over into that neighborhood and allow traffic to flow east-west north of Loop 363. The idea of that thoroughfare connection is to allow traffic to flow through the neighborhood and make shorter trips to facilitate that travel without having to travel out of the neighborhood out onto a major boulevard or an expressway to make that trip. Shorter trips mean less emissions and it's more convenient for the people that live in that neighborhood. South 31st Street is one of the most heavily traveled streets in the city of Temple. Provides north-south connectivity from the very north end to the very south end of the city, and it travels through the TMED Neighborhood Planning District. The TMED plan is providing several recommendations for improvements to South 31st Street, to include a dedicated turn lane throughout to ease turning movements, and drivers can access the businesses and the medical facilities without impeding the flow of traffic. Other recommendations include improved sidewalks to give pedestrians a chance to feel safe that they can move up and down South 31st Street as well, despite the heavy vehicle traffic. Enhanced landscaping is also a recommendation from this plan. Because this is such a heavily traveled corridor, it is a key gateway into Temple. We want to put our best foot forward. So one of the recommendations from this plan is certainly to improve some of the aesthetics on South 31st Street. Turning movements and vehicles entering and exiting a primary arterial like South 31st Street, those conflict points are what can impede the traffic flow and cause traffic jams or cause traffic to slow down. One of the recommendations from this plan is to look at the access management and where driveways are located, or whether or not a single driveway could serve multiple businesses, and then that access is shared across the parking lots or the driveways between those to reduce the number of vehicles turning onto or off of South 31st Street. The TMED neighborhood plan is recommending an urban avenue cross-section for South 1st Street. As you see now, parts of South 1st Street have some wider sidewalks, street plantings next to a main arterial roadway. The recommendation is to look at expanding the sidewalks and the landscaping, adding a median to South 1st Street. That urban avenue then becomes more inviting and more aesthetically pleasing for both pedestrians and drivers as they come into the city on this key gateway corridor. Avenue M is a main east-west collector in the TMED Neighborhood Planning District. It's populated with a lot of businesses, but it doesn't provide a lot of access for pedestrians or bicyclists. So a recommendation from the TMED plan is to add separated bicycle and pedestrian facilities to make it easier and give a sense of safety for folks that want to move down Avenue M and feel safe within the vehicle traffic in that commercial zone. Cottonwood Lane provides an east-west connection between the shopping area and the hospitals near South 31st Street. Recommendation from this plan is to add parallel parking and landscaping and lighting along Cottonwood Lane so that that connection becomes more inviting for both vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists.
TMED has complexity not found in the other neighborhood planning districts. To ensure the thoughtfulness and thoroughness required by the planning area, a division into subdistricts was viewed as an important step. This allows each subdistrict to better define its role within TMED and for recommendations to respond to their corresponding issues. The subdistricts were determined based on delineation of streets, land uses, and character considerations. Each district has catalyst projects and land use recommendations that are intended to guide the future development in the area.
College Place is an important subdistrict within the TMED MPD. The Central Subdistrict is located within the heart of TMED. This subdistrict contains a wide variety of uses, including the VA Hospital, Temple College, Summit Recreation Center, Temple Civic Theater, and Friars Creek Trail. The majority of the plan area's single-family residential is also found in this subdistrict. The major role that this area plays within TMED includes the widest variety of land uses within the plan area, provision of walkable neighborhood to primary medical and educational institutions, and education and medical contributions to TMED. The Friars Creek Drive realignment is a recommendation within this plan area. By realigning Friars Creek Drive to extend from 5th Street to 31st Street, we will make an important connection between Temple College and the Baylor Scott and White campus. This is really important as we expand on multifamily development along Friars Creek Drive, which is a really important key to the success of the plan area. Temple College will also benefit from this realignment with the creation of a mixed-use node along 5th Street that enhances the Temple College experience. Friars Creek redevelopment is also identified within this area and will include a different redevelopment types such as multifamily, commercial, mixed-use, and live-work townhouse type development. This area in the subdistrict is hampered by a fractured development pattern. So by realigning Friars Creek Drive to be a more direct route and create a linkage between Temple College and the hospital, we will improve this corridor and be able to redevelop this area into an improved housing stock. Improvements to Veterans Memorial Drive are also identified within this subdistrict. Those improvements will improve the function and arrival sequence to those traveling to Temple College or the VA hospital. They include additional landscaping, multi-use side paths, enhanced intersection treatments. They also allow for alternative modes of transportation and a gateway monument with branding for TMED. Some catalyst project impacts for this street include improved access to the hospital, unification of prominent north-south corridor, improved access management and traffic control, a significant beautification effort, and increased support for in-city circulatory transit route. There are several existing homes within the College Place subdistrict. Invigorating that existing housing stock is important to getting the desired vitality in the TMED neighborhood. The College Place subdistrict has a residential housing stock that has a variety of conditions, with some properties ranging in the degree of state of repair or ability to meet current housing demands. Some recommendations for this particular area include promoting high quality of life and livability standards, protecting and promoting unique physical features and valued aesthetic appearances, stabilizing and invigorating neighborhood economic conditions, reducing conflicts from development and investments into the neighborhood through added regulatory certainty, encourage a sense of place and source of neighborhood pride, and provide a path forward for orderly redevelopment within the city. Housing choice is very important within the College Place neighborhood. It's important to not only look at the existing housing stock, but what types of infill development could really serve the neighborhood. Housing choice refers to the ability to provide different unit types within the same neighborhood, and this will allow people to pursue a housing type that best meets their current needs while being able to focus on a specific neighborhood. There should be a variety of housing choices that are proposed within this area. This includes single-family conservation. The existing housing stock is very important within this area, and several homes are architecturally pleasing structures. So infill and renovation efforts should really maintain the desirable characteristics of the neighborhood. Also, townhouse and duplexes should also be encouraged, with the addition to include alleys to provide to this housing type and on smaller lots for maintenance. This will offer several different benefits to the neighborhood block structure while also accommodating increased units through provision of parking in the rear of the property. Multi-story neighborhood apartments is also another recommendation. We should look at this to increase the number of housing units, but also complement both the adjacent single-family and commercial properties. This can be accomplished by increasing the number of housing units in close proximity to the apartments while creating a vertical and noise buffer from the activity found along Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Areas within this plan also include an activity zone. That is the destination for neighborhood residents that is really important for the neighborhood vitality here. They would be very beneficial to have for all of the residents, but we should also look at any negative impacts associated with the increased traffic based on use patterns and popularity. However, if they are in close proximity to established residential, they can encourage long-term vitality of the neighborhood. Scum-White Park is located within the College Place subdistrict. This plan recommends partnering with TISD to expand the athletic facilities for Travis Middle School. Additional updates or renovations to this park space should also be looking at offering elements that are neighborhood focused, specifically play elements that would promote inclusive play components.
The Baylor Scott and White subdistrict is defined by the large Baylor Scott and White Medical Campus. This area serves as a major employment, shopping, and dining node within the city. Located along two major roadways, 31st Street and HK Dodge and Loop, this subdistrict is one of the most visible and highly visited in TMED. A unique element proposed for the Baylor Scott and White subdistrict is a neighborhood monument. The Helix monument structure, seen here, blends art with branding to reinforce the importance of the medical component of the TMED district. The signage, structural accents, and corresponding landscape all contribute to the added beautification of the plant area and reinforces the TMED branding. One of the catalyst projects outlined in this plan for the Baylor Scott and White subdistrict is the Avenue T to JC Park Trail. The Avenue T to JC Park Trail would provide an important corridor from some of the subdistrict's multifamily housing to improve access to nearby JC Park. This project would improve access to existing parkland and promote better utilization of otherwise underutilized green space. Also within the Baylor Scott and White subdistrict, the plan outlines improvements to 31st Street. 31st Street acts as a spine for the Baylor Scott and White Subdistrict, and this role means that it needs to serve to promote a unique sense of place, accommodate pedestrians comfortably, allow for alternative modes of transportation, and provide a clear sense of arrival upon entering TMED. The 31st Street improvements would make a more inviting pedestrian environment, increase the aesthetic look of this prominent corridor, and it would provide support for an in-city circulatory transit route.
The South 31st Street Subdistrict contains many large economic drivers for the city. The Baylor Scott and White McLean Children's Hospital, Marketplace Shopping Center, and Temple Mall are all located along HK Dodge and Loop within the TMED plan area. The Temple Mall is a prime area for redevelopment within the plan area. It's currently underused with many vacant spaces inside the mall. While a few of the existing buildings should remain, much of the area can be converted to multifamily housing, retail, and mixed-use development. The realignment of Azalea Drive will make this area more accessible in the future, so the higher density can be more supported. In addition to the mixed-use element, the mall should strive to be a regional destination to attract and accommodate visitors to the area. One of the main roads through the South 31st Street Subdistrict is the Market Loop. The Market Loop connects McLean Children's Hospital to the Marketplace Shopping Center and 31st Street to the Temple Mall. The street currently has no pedestrian facilities and lacks aesthetic appeal. Market Loop can be enhanced by the addition of a sidewalk with a planting strip with street trees and lighting along the north side of the road. A stone retaining wall and privacy fence buffer will block the view of adjacent buildings. Cottonwood Lane, which connects the Market Loop, should also see sidewalk additions in order to fill gaps. The Oak Creek Trail connects Oak Creek Park to Highway 190 frontage and subsequently to the Baylor Scott and White Children's Hospital. The trail will provide improved access to Oak Creek Park for visitors of the Children's Hospital, residents, businesses, and institutions found along Cottonwood Lane. Currently, most of the corridor is obscured with scrub vegetation. Clearing the corridor and the addition of the trail would improve the physical and visual access to the creek. Additional amenities such as seating and picnic shelters should be considered along the trail. The trail should engage the creek when feasible.
South First Street currently comes out of the TMED Plan District and into what we know as TMED South, south of Highway 190, along South Fifth Street behind me, near Canyon Creek and Blackland Road. A recommendation from this plan is to extend South First Street, realign it with South Fifth Street as this area develops into a walkable, dense, mixed-use community, to direct that north-south traffic flow over to the primary north-south arterial of South First Street. That realigned roadway will form the backbone of the TMED South neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Shawnice Minor, Neighborhood Navigator. TMED is a very unique district, seeing as to it already has many existing trails as well as proposed trails. Two of our longest trails here in the district is the connector within 31st Street, as well as Friars Creek Trail. Adding connectors to these two trails will create more walkability and access throughout the TMED neighborhood. Tarrant Park is currently owned by the VA hospital and is not publicly accessible. However, in the future, this park could become accessible for all to enjoy. Creating a greenway trail between HK Dodge and Loop and East Temple, Ferguson Park would allow for all of the surrounding districts to have access to TMED. Creating Tarrant Trail will create connectors between Scott and White, Temple College, as well as Friars Creek Trail.
The TMED neighborhood plan also looks at some of the conveniences that you could find throughout the district. One of those conveniences would be the placement of underground dumpsters. Similar to what we put forward in the downtown plan, underground dumpsters may be able to play a role within TMED. The capacity of the below-ground dumpsters is equal to or greater than that of traditional dumpsters, with less visual impact, better odor control, increased security, and reduced environmental impact.
The plan includes lighting considerations for each of the following zones: general street zones, neighborhood zones, intersection zones, park zones, TMED mixed use. Lighting types will be chosen based on needs of each zone.
The TMED plan recommends looking at below-grade utility placements along major, minor arterials, community collectors, neighborhood collectors, and on our local streets. Burying overhead utility lines within residential neighborhoods and the correct placement of below-ground water, sewer, and stormwater lines can address this concern. This extra consideration can improve neighborhood aesthetics and long-term viability of maintaining that infrastructure. Rules about utility spacing and grouping should also be followed to ensure safety. If utilities cannot be placed in a trench, the use of ornamental trees is an acceptable alternative to large shade trees to maintain the tree canopy. These trees should not exceed 15 feet once they reach their mature height. Overhead utilities should be consolidated on one side of the road where possible.
Creating clear, cohesive, and readable signage within TMED is a key element to providing the best possible experience for all residents and visitors. This includes branding, neighborhood subdistrict identification, street identification, and trail wayfinding. The signage and wayfinding program for TMED will include banners, street sign toppers, and directional signage. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of NPD News TMED Edition. We've really enjoyed showing you all of the plan elements that we've developed, and we hope that you really like them. We would love to hear your feedback and any suggestions that you might have by the end of the day on March the 4th. Please email us at mpdnews@templetx.gov. You can also watch all of our progress on our website, which is templetx.gov/lovewhereyoulive. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.
TMED, there's so much you can see. I said TMED, see new things all around. I said TMED, you will be inspired. There's so much to do and see. TMED, there's a place you can go. I said TMED, there's great traffic flow. You can stay there, and I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. It's fun to visit the TMED. It's fun to visit the TMED. It has all you need for education and fun. You can hang out with all your friends. TMED. It's fun to visit the TMED. You can get yourself well. You can have a good meal.